Live from Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee, this is Caregivers with Hope, the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 3 decades of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. And we're glad you're with us. You want to be on the show? 800-688-9522. 800-688-9522. You can follow along on Caregivers with Hope's Facebook page, Twitter account, Hope for Caregiver, and live on Facebook, Caregivers with Hope under Facebook. So it's, I kind of go with a theme there of Caregivers with Hope. And we are Caregivers with Hope, and we're glad that you're with us. There are 65 million Americans right now serving as a family caregiver. The numbers are growing. How do you help someone who helps someone? That's what this show is about, and we are so glad you're with us. 800-688-9522. 800-688-9522. John, I got to tell you, what a pair of guests we have on the show today. It is extraordinary.
Oh, absolutely.
By the way, this is John Butler, the Count of Mighty Disco, our producer, and we want to get right to this. There's a new film coming out on November 2nd. This will be a limited release in 570 theaters across the country.
Okay.
It's called I'll Push You. Also a book. And these 2 men, Patrick Gray and Justin Skeesuck, and they took the Camino de Santiago trail. A lot of people do 500 miles.
Oh, this is the St. James pilgrimage, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
But Justin's in a wheelchair. He has a neurological disorder, muscular disorder, so he is not able to hardly do anything because of this. And his buddy, lifelong buddy, Patrick, said, I'll push you. Well, he did. But the journey they've come through together is extraordinary. We want to get right to it. They're both on the line with us today. Justin, Patrick, you with us?
We are. How are you doing? This is Justin, and
it's Patrick here.
Patrick and Justin, I tell you, it is such a treat to talk to you guys. What an honor. And I watched the documentary. Thank you for the pre-screening that you were able to give to me on that, and well done. Tell us a little bit about this journey. Let's start with you, Justin. I mean, this is something you came up with, this harebrained idea, I assume. That was your idea, right?
Yeah, it's all my fault, apparently. So in a nutshell, I learned about it, the pilgrimage, from a public access TV show I was watching kind of on a nondescript Saturday morning back in 2012, and I knew as soon as I watched it that it was something that I just knew in my heart and my soul and my mind, and kind of everything in my being was screaming at me to say, you need to do this, And so I called my wife into the room, and she watched a little bit of the episode, and she said, if you want to go do it, go do it. And I always joke, because she's my primary caregiver, and maybe I always joke that either she's really, really supportive, or she was looking to kick me out of the house for a month so she could get a little bit of rest. But she was really supportive. And then Patrick and I have known each other for 42 years. We're born just over 36 hours apart, in the same hospital, same town. And he was down visiting me in San Diego, and I showed him this episode, and he said, "Yeah, I'll push you." And that was the beginning of it all.
Patrick, one of my favorite movies is Lonesome Dove, and there's a scene where Robert Duvall's character is dying, and he makes Tommy Lee Jones' character promise, lifelong buddy, said, "I want you to haul my body down to Texas and bury me in this particular place that was special to him." So he hauled him 2,000 miles, and it was just a very difficult trail. Got to the end, he dug the grave, and he looked at it and says, "Well, I guess that'll teach me to be more careful what I promise next time." Did you ever feel that way?
No, I didn't. It's the kind of thing where this, don't get me wrong, there was a remarkable amount of naivety at the beginning of this whole journey between both of us. To do a 500-mile wheelchair trek is pretty crazy. But we've always kind of just operated from the standpoint of our adventures are just better when they're shared. And so when Justin has ideas, or he has something he wants to do, or likewise, or if it's a passion in life, or even a struggle we're dealing with, we just kind of have had the mindset that we will always make those joys and those struggles that our friends are dealing with our own. And so approaching this whole journey with that mindset, it was never really like, man, what did I get myself into? It was more of, hey, at least we're in it together.
I want to mine a couple of things that you said in the film. Justin, I will start with you. And you made 2 statements in this thing that you said they approached the same issue from different directions. And the first came, you remember this, when Patrick was carrying you in the rain, following the broken wheel. And you said it's hard not to feel like a burden in this situation. To see what your friends are willing to do for you can be a difficult pill to swallow. And then later on, a couple of scenes later, you're in a hotel room and you revisited the same issue and says, I have to trust and love and let them find their joy in it because they love it. And those were powerful statements. Can you unpack that a little bit? Go a little deeper with that if you don't mind.
Yeah, just to give your listeners a little bit of context, I live with a very rare progressive autoimmune disease. It's a neurological disease. It's very similar to ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. And I'm at the point in my life where, I can't really. I'm dependent upon others for pretty much every aspect of my life, from the moment I get up until the moment I go to bed at night. My wife is my primary caregiver. Patrick is my number two, or I affectionately describe him as the vice president of my inner circle. Whether or not he likes that title or not doesn't really matter. But throughout, being dependent upon others it's a very difficult pill to swallow. Very, very difficult. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way with the disease that I have, and slowly but surely having to rely upon others for just getting through life. And on the pilgrimage specifically, when our wheel broke off my wheelchair, and it's a natural it's a natural thought process to feel in certain circumstances, like mine. I can only speak to me because that's the life that I live. You feel like a burden upon others because the natural way of thinking is you're putting somebody out of, you're making somebody do something that they normally wouldn't do. And, I guess making is probably the right word. I'm trying to find the right words, but you feel like that. You feel like you're making somebody do something. And, as Americans specifically, we want to be very independent upon, for living. We want to do everything our own, and we want to achieve success on our own. And, you don't want to, ask for directions and all that type of stuff. And, and it's really in the society that we live in, and I think it's become increasingly so, that it's ever more difficult to ask people for help because of the way that we're ingrained, what we're told. And with the disability that I have and the disease that I have, I've had to really turn a lot of that on its head. And I've had to swallow a lot of pills. I've had to not swallow the pills as in medicate, but as in, pride. I've had to swallow my pride a lot and let people into my journey and live life with me. Patrick is a prime example of that.
And that comes through in the film beautifully. And, the thing that struck me is I've heard my wife say the same words that were coming out of your mouth. Same words. And it was deeply meaningful for me to see her story in your journey now, because it just gave me, even though I've been doing this for 3 decades, it gave me, again, just a reminder of that difficulty it has. And Patrick, I want to stay with that same theme here. There was a point along the way where strangers helped you and assisted you, and they wanted to assist you, but you were reticent to do this. You were a little bit leery of this because a lot of things, caregivers are like this. We tend to say it's all up to us, and we don't want to relinquish control because they're going to probably mess it up and they're going to have to clean it up. But eventually you came to a hill that said, it's my battle, it's my hill, but then all of a sudden you realized this is bigger than me. Talk about that a little bit.
That's kind of a loaded section of the film and a loaded section of our story, because there's a lot going on in that moment. Yes, I had this idea that I was going to get Justin from St. John to Santiago, that it was my battle, if you will. That's the word I use. And I was also dealing with a lot of stuff behind the scenes of control issues, kind of a very, very type A-driven personality, which I think is pretty common in people who choose the caregiving field. A lot of nurses are that way. Physicians are definitely that way. And
wait a minute, are you saying you're a caregiver with control issues? Is that what I understand? Because
absolutely,
that's our life, baby.
It is. Yeah, and what it comes down to for me is I've always kind of had a perverted sense of safety, and what's always been safe to me has been control, because I can control the outcome. I can wrap my arms around something, and I can dictate what happens on the other side. But that kind of mentality is so limiting at the same time. It is so limiting in so many ways. And to get to a moment as we're going down this path, this journey, to recognize that there's a group of people that can step in and do something I can't do. And my getting myself out of the way to allow people to do something that I can't do on my own actually allowed both Justin and I to experience things we never would have experienced otherwise. And that's a powerful, I guess, lesson for life in general, especially for caregivers, not letting people in, getting respite, be able to spend some time kind of rebooting and be able to turn around and give more because they've allowed someone to give to them is something we must learn in order for life to be as full and beautiful as it can be. But as long as we're trying to control things and we think we can do it all on our own, we're going to burn out, and the people that we're caring for are going to suffer because of our selfishness.
Well said. I've seen that in my own life. Well, I'm the crash test dummy of caregivers, and so I've done this. Hey, listen, we've got to take a quick break. Hang on through the break. We're talking with Patrick Gray and Justin Skeesuck. The movie is called I'll Push You. It is going to have a limited release around the country, and if you want to see it, I've been authorized to give away at least, 2 tickets? Have I been able to do that?
I think 4.
4 tickets? I can do 4. Hey, all right. 800-688-9522. This is Peter Rosenberger. We'll be right back. 800-688-9522.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. 65 million Americans serve as a caregiver for a sick or disabled loved one. If you're one of them, then listen to my friend Peter Rosenberger. He's got redneck tendencies, but he's really good at what he does.
Welcome back to the show for caregivers, about caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. That's my wife, Gracie, John. Thank you for that. Singing a song that I wrote called I Can Only Hold You Now.
Oh, yeah. And well, she does it justice.
She does it well.
Absolutely.
So, hey, we are talking with Patrick Gray and Justin Skeesuck, and the movie is I'll Push You, and talks about their journey, 500 miles, 2 best friends, 1 wheelchair, and this amazing trek that they took on the Camino de Santiago with a wheelchair. It's extraordinary, and congratulations to Sharon in North Carolina. She's going to be seeing the movie, courtesy of you guys, so thank you for that, and I'll be talking to her after the show. And also, I've got a caller from Connecticut. John in Connecticut wants to say something to you fellas, so John, go ahead.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're just lovely. By the way, we got 2 Johns, so this is not John calling in from behind the studio. This is not John Butler. This is John in Connecticut. So,
that's right.
John, tell us what's on your heart.
Hey, man, I was made aware of this video probably just last week, and I've watched a whole bunch of YouTube stuff about you 2 guys, and man, I don't even know where to start. You guys have blessed me and challenged me. I recently become a caregiver. In May, my dad had a very mild hemorrhagic stroke, and it was kind of the catalyst to have him and my mom move in with us. And 4 weeks ago, he had a much more severe stroke. And so we're dealing with a whole different ballgame now. And so maybe the timing of his stroke and this story really has hit home. And the other thing that kind of I'm involved in, I'm a big obstacle course racer, which if you're not familiar with it, is just a really crazy community of people who just find challenges and do obstacle course races, and we're always finding very, very inspiration from people who do things like you guys do. And I saw this show and I wept, and I loved so much about it the thing that really, as a guy, as a dude, the thing that really ministered to me that I kind of just want to touch base on is your guys' relationship, like the love that you two men have for each other. And I just wanted to throw that out there and just kind of let you guys talk about that a little bit, and then I have something else I want to follow up with. But that relationship, I just think is just unbelievable, and I saw that so clearly through all your videos.
Well, Patrick and Justin, thank you for that, John. Talk about that, because that's it's an extraordinary friendship. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about that. We got just a few minutes, but go ahead and tell us.
Sure. Yeah, John, first off, thanks for the question. This is Patrick speaking. We to give you a quick snapshot, we've always had this relationship, and it wasn't until probably the past 4 or 5 years where we were kind of made aware that what we have is unique. We've always kind of taken it for granted. And so we've done a lot of soul searching and unpacking what is that, especially when we were writing our book that came out this last June, where we dive into some of those dynamics in our relationship pretty heavily. And a lot of what it comes down to is facing the fears that I think we're kind of sold in our society, that this whole mentality that we have to be enough, we have to be able to do it on our own. We just kind of embrace the mentality of vulnerability is our greatest strength, laying everything on the table for our buddy to see and to love us anyway is the only way to live fully. And it's really the only way to live fully in any relationship, whether it's with your best friend or your wife or your kids even, for them to be able to see all of who you are and have the opportunity to love you in spite of that junk that you carry. That's a different kind of love. And that opens up the doorway for a greater sense of intimacy between two friends, a greater sense of pursuing one another, just to have those adventures that help cultivate that vulnerability that much more. And it almost becomes, I don't want to say like a drug, because that's not the right phrase, but you hunger for it. Mm-hmm. You hunger for that level of connection, and you will do whatever you can to make sure you guard that relationship against anything that would try and take it away.
And John, you had a follow-up question on that, and we got 1 minute.
I did, and it's going to be very quickly, guys. And I don't want this to sound like a challenge, because you guys have done incredible challenges, but I've summited Kilimanjaro twice, and I would love if you guys put that on your map. I would love to be a part of that. And I would love to, and we can raise awareness for whatever and raise money and do all that stuff. But I'll just be brutally honest. It would be a chance to spend 2 weeks with you two guys, and I love that mountain. I've summited it twice. Like I said, I want to summit it 5 more times in my life. But I just want to kind of throw that out there as something. I don't know if it's in the cards. I don't know, how Justin's health and the progression of his disease and all that. But if that is a remote possibility, then I would love to make that happen.
Well, guys, how about it? Kilimanjaro?
John, I love you, buddy, but no thanks.
All right, how about, I tell you what, how about we do Stone Mountain? They got a road that goes around it, I think. And,
we did 3 mountain ranges on our pilgrimage, so, we want to be able to have that unfold in front of everybody on the big screen on November 2nd.
November 2nd, it's called I'll Push You. And go out there and type in your zip code. You can find out where it's playing near you. November 2nd. John, don't hang up. We're going to get all your stuff. I'm going to make sure you get to see this film. Justin and Patrick, thank you. What a treat. And I'll put this out on the blog post a little bit later on tonight. I wish I could have you for the whole show.
Yeah, if people want to learn more, just go to I'llPushYou.com.
I'llPushYou.com. Guys, you're welcome anytime.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see you. Hey, this is Peter Rosenberger. We'll be right back.
I'm Gracie Rosenberger. 20 years ago, I walked for the first time on 2 artificial legs, and I'll never forget that day. That day, I not only walked, but I happened to see a documentary about Princess Diana's work with amputees in Southeast Asia. Watching her with people who now looked just like me, I knew in my heart God was calling me to reach fellow amputees with practical help through prosthetic limbs and the life-changing message of the gospel. Since 2005, we've done just that through Standing with Hope. It's the Evangelical Prosthetic Limb Outreach my husband Peter and I founded. By training and equipping local workers in developing countries, we are changing lives one leg at a time. We also collect used limbs, and we work with inmates at a local prison. They volunteer to disassemble the limbs in order to recycle the usable parts. A woman with a broken body working with broken lives in a prison to reach other broken lives in order to point to the one who was broken for us. That's what's happening every day at Standing with Hope, and we invite you to participate with us. Go to standingwithhope.com, please, and learn how you can get involved. I'm Gracie Rosenberger, and by God's grace, I am Standing with Hope.
For more information, visit standingwithhope.com.